So this video has been a long time coming. It's my top 10 films of 2010. The reason that it's taken me so long to put this video together is that because I live in England, essentially region 2, I haven't had the chance to see these films as they were released in America. So I've had to wait until very recently to see some of these films in order to put this list together. And I didn't want to put a list together of 10 films that I saw last year and then have the runoff of films being released in England in the first few months of 2011 to then alter my list. So I've waited until now and I've put this list together, and I can't really see it changing that much, even though there are still a couple of last year's films that I haven't seen because they haven't been released here. But this is my top 10 of 2010, and like I said, I can't imagine this list will change very much. So let's go. Okay, so at number 10 is a film that I know straight away a lot of people are going to be thinking, why the hell is that on your list? But this is, I wouldn't even consider it a guilty pleasure because I think it's a legitimately good action film, and that is The Losers. It's the graphic novel adaptation about a ragtag group of Marines who were betrayed by a CIA bad guy played by Jason Patrick, and then they want the revenge, they want the lives back, so they go after him. And it really is a case of a decent script in terms of dialogue, because the film is shallow. If you're looking for character development or a half-decent plot, you know, look elsewhere. But the dialogue and the interplay between the characters is so fresh and so charismatic, and there's such chemistry between all of the actors, especially Chris Evans, who's soon to play Captain America. I think it's one of the most fun movies that was released last year, and I would really recommend giving it a chance, because when it was released at the cinema, I didn't go and see it because I wasn't interested, but I gave it a chance on Blu-ray and absolutely fell in love with this movie. It's the film that the A-Team and the Expendables should have been. It beats both of those movies, yet nobody really has seen this one. So The Losers I can't recommend enough for any fans of action movies, or just any people who like to see the action genre done in a slightly different way. I would recommend The Losers. Very witty, fun film. So that's my number 10. Number 9, and people may be surprised at how low down the list this is. Number 9 is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I reviewed this on YouTube, so I don't want to say too much about it, but I do see this film as a time capsule. 40, 50 years from now, people will look at this film to get an idea of what youth culture was like in the noughties. It really is a fantastic movie. It's, in terms of style, it's unique. It's unlike anything I've seen before, and proves that Edgar Wright is probably one of the best action directors working today, even though this isn't an out-and-out action film. He really applies his kind of quirky visual style and like whip pan camera editing to great effect in this movie. It's very faithful to the graphic novels on which it's based, and it's just a good all-around movie, and it proves that Michael Cera isn't always irritating. He actually is quite good in this. So I really loved Scott Pilgrim, another really fun film from last year, and that places at my number 9, which links into a film which was very much designed for the same audience as Scott Pilgrim, although in a very different style. If Scott Pilgrim's the whimsical fantasy, not intended to be in any way real version of events, then Kick-Ass, my number 8 film of 2010, is the exact opposite. This is a superhero film if superheroes existed in real life. No powers, and they essentially get their asses kicked. I love Kick-Ass. I think it's a fantastic film, and I think it successfully manages to parody the comic book action genre while also being a legitimate entry into it. The first half of the film is very much, you know, this is what would happen if a teenage boy dressed up as a superhero. And then the second half, once you meet the characters of Big Daddy and Hit Girl, played by Nicolas Cage and Chloe Moretz, it turns into a full-on action superhero movie because they are essentially real superheroes. And it's just fantastic. It really is. It's written by Jonathan Ross's wife and directed by Matthew Vaughn, who did Layer Cake and Stardust. I wasn't too keen on Stardust, but I did like Layer Cake. He's going on to do X-Men First Class this year as well, which I'm really looking forward to. This film is it is fantastic. It is one of the most fun films that I had watching in the cinema last year. It's another one I reviewed on YouTube, so I don't really need to say too much about it, but I thoroughly recommend it to fans of action movies. And that's the thing, that last year, I'm not into action films. I'd rather have a drama than an action film. But there are certain action films, and quite a few that came out last year, that tried to do something different with the genre, tried to kind of put a postmodern twist on the genre, and did it really well, so that's why they've made my top 10. So that's number 8, Kick-Ass, and that brings us to number 7, which is Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan. I just picked this up on Blu-ray yesterday and watched it last night while I was laying in bed. Absolutely loved it. It really is one of those films that the first time you watch it, I think it's gonna not be very accessible. It's quite a challenging watch, you know. The themes of the film and the characters' metamorphosis really do make it kind of a grueling watch at times, but it is one that will grow on you the more you watch it. I've seen it 3 times now, and I've liked it more and more every time I've watched it, and Natalie Portman thoroughly deserved the Oscar she was awarded. Her performance is just mesmerising, and it's one of the best performances an actress has given in the last 5 years, if you ask my opinion. So that's Black Swan. We then go on to number 6, which is a film, one of the reasons that this video is delayed was so that I had chance to see this movie, because I had a feeling it would make my list, and it did. And that is Blue Valentine, starring Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. A love story, which it says on the front here, a love story for anyone that's ever been in love. And it really is true. It charters the ups and downs of a relationship. Now, I thought going in that I hope it's not going to be a case of a solemn everything is bad in this relationship type of movie, but it wasn't. It does show as much good as it does bad, and the performances are 2 of the best performances of last year. Now, I cannot remember if Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams were nominated for Oscars, or whether or not they're in the running for next year's Oscars. I don't know the time frame of when this was released, but they deserve at least nominations. It's just, I've never seen an on-screen romance that I was so invested in. It really does sell it to you, and I completely bought the relationship between the 2 characters, and I liked them both. And it's not often that happens. Usually in a film like this, you take sides with one of the characters, but they both have the good points, they both have the flaws, they're both very charming, and you can't help but kind of fall in love with them both. And I thought the way that it intercuts the downfall of the relationship with the beginning and blossoming of the relationship was really quite clever. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I could have watched these characters for hours. The film as well, the director, who is Derek Cianfrance, I don't know if I've pronounced that right. He directs it with a very, very slight hand. You know, he literally just kind of points the camera at the actors and lets them do their work, which, with a film like this, is the perfect way to do it, and I cannot recommend Blue Valentine enough. Number 5 is True Grit, the Coen Brothers movie. Now, this is the only one of the list that I don't actually own because it hasn't been released here yet. But True Grit, I reviewed on YouTube, and I loved. It really is a return to the Coen Brothers of the kind of early to mid-90s when they did Miller's Crossing. I would say that Miller's Crossing is the closest cousin of their version of True Grit. It really does feature the Coen Brothers dialogue and larger-than-life characters and splashes of ultra-violence as well as very dark humour. Absolutely loved the film, can't recommend it enough, one of the best westerns to come out in years. So True Grit is my number 5. Number 4 is another film that people maybe haven't even heard of or will be surprised that it's made my list and that it's so high up on the list, but it's a film I absolutely love and cannot recommend enough, and that is Adam Green's Frozen, a film about 3 friends who get trapped on a ski lift for a week. And what I really like about this movie is, in a year when we've had quite a few, you know, characters trapped in a shit situation movies, we've had Buried with Ryan Reynolds, we've had 127 Hours with James Franco, and we've got this as well, and this is the lesser known of the bunch, but it's by far the best if you ask me. Reason being is the chemistry between the characters is absolutely second to none, and the reason being that Sean Ashmore and I'm trying to remember the guy's name, Kevin Zegers. Those two have been best friends for years in real life, and their chemistry really does shine through in the film and make you fall in love with the characters and care about the characters. So you care when stuff happens to them. And I just think the script as well is fantastic. It's full of movie references, but not in an awkward way. They talk like real people talk, and they're, you know, constantly referring to Jaws and Star Wars and things like that. And they literally have conversations that my friends and I have had. Now, when I was watching this, I was struck by how similar the dynamic between the characters is to a dynamic I have with a bunch of friends. Now, just bear with me a second. I would argue that the Sean Ashmore character is essentially me. Like, when I was watching it, I thought, that is frighteningly close to how I act with my friends. And even when my friends watched this movie, they said, hey, that's you. So I found that really quite interesting. And the character that Kevin Zegers plays is very much my friend Mike. Mike and I have been best friends for a few years. I absolutely love Mike to bits. And the dynamic that the two have is exactly the same dynamic that I have with Mike. And then his girlfriend is very much the girlfriend that Mike has now. The whole dynamic between the three of us is exactly what you see in this film. So I actually made us sit down and watch it, you know, because I thought, it's us. Like, just watch it and bear with me. And they agreed. So it was, I think that's why I loved it so much, is that I could relate to the situation between the characters. I could relate to that dynamic and that feeling of when your best friend like introduces a girlfriend to the group and stuff. I could really relate to that. So Frozen is definitely one of my favourite films of the year and comes in at number 4. Number 3 is a film I'm not going to talk too much about because I've reviewed it with DVD Weasel Liam a few months ago when it came out at the cinema, but that is Inception, Christopher Nolan's movie. It's not his best movie by a long shot in my opinion. I prefer The Dark Knight, The Prestige and Memento to Inception, but it is a fantastic action movie, and it proves that you can take a mega budget and spin an original idea and you get a hit. You know, you don't have to make a sequel or a remake in order to make a big successful blockbuster. Inception proves that, and I hope that it paves the way for many more films like this in the future. So that's why it's at my number 3 of the year last year. Number 2 is the latest David Fincher film, and that is The Social Network. A film that when I heard about it, I thought, how can you possibly make a film about the creation of Facebook interesting? And they did it. It's practically Shakespearean, about two best friends whose friendship is destroyed by a great idea that they have together. And for a film that is all talking, the script's by Aaron Sorkin, it's one of the most fast-paced and white-knuckle films of the last year, and it places at number 2 on my list. I absolutely love this movie, and I cannot recommend it enough. I actually watched it while I was in San Francisco visiting Greg Arganda, the YouTuber. We watched it together, and we've reviewed it together on his channel. So that's The Social Network at number 2. Now, you may be asking yourself, what's going to be number 1? Because most people think it's going to be Inception, The Social Network, Scott Pilgrim, you know, one of those, but it's not. It's a film that kind of came in under the radar, which has grown in popularity recently. I honestly love this movie. I watched it about 5 times in the space of 7 days. I cannot get enough of it. I absolutely love it, and that is Catfish. This is the documentary about a guy who befriends a family on Facebook, falls for the girl who's similar age to himself, and becomes suspicious of who he's talking to, and then decides to go to their house and surprise them. Now, I won't give anything else away because that'd spoil the film, but it's such a rewarding experience. It really is, and it doesn't go the way you expect it to. And I have to say that there's been a lot of controversy surrounding this film over how real it is, and I think that misses the point. But personally, I don't think this is fake. I think that if this is fake, then the two actors who have a very long conversation towards the end of the movie, they must be two of the greatest living actors. I cannot see that scene being faked, honestly. It's absolutely mesmerising, and it's so human and so touching. I absolutely just loved this movie. It really is, in my opinion, the most rewarding film of 2010, and it does demand repeat viewings, and it really just does change your perspective on social networking. And I find it quite fascinating that two films made the top of my list: The Social Network, about the creation of Facebook, and Catfish, about the repercussions of Facebook. It's a fantastic film. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's my #1 of 2010 and I absolutely love it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Sorry it's been a few months late, but better late than never. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks to everybody who subscribes, leaves comments, likes this video, everything. You're all brilliant. Thanks very much.